All right. As we do every year, we have a number of special distinguished guests in attendance, so I want to run down the list of who we have here representing the sport of bowling, and also we'll get to our Hall of Famers in a moment as well. So first, I'd like to introduce Mary DeBoer, President of the Michigan State USBC Bowling Association, and Sharon Childreth, Association Manager of the Michigan State USBC Bowling Association. And also joining us tonight is the Honorable Sean Cavanaugh, District Judge, right here in Livonia. Nice to see you, Judge. And if the members of the Southeast Michigan Bowling Centers Association could rise so we can recognize you, we have Vicki Ingram, the President, is here, as well as John Kasbar, the Executive Director, Randy Shank, and also Henry Mistley. So thank you all for being here. And we also, as we always do, have tremendous representation from our board here, our local board. So we have George Brzezinski, President. And if you could all stand, I'll just go down the list here. Libby Fletcher, Vice President. Richard Banks, Ann Block, Mike DeRusi, James Horton, Mark Hertcom, Marty Marshall, John Vorpagel, and of course Mark Martin, our Association Manager. So again, thank you all for what you do for our sport here. I mean, the bowling capital of the world, it's judged by numbers, but I would dare say, based on this association, it's judged by quality as well. We have a great quality of our sport here in this town, and you guys are largely responsible for that, so thank you so much. All right, before we get to our Hall of Famers, which is a very special part of this night, let's also recognize the Hall of Fame committee who meets and decides who the inductees will be every year. So if you could all rise, we have Paul Stewart here, Vicki Ingram, Roy Biggs, John Kasbar, Anita Canaline, Alita Sill, Ed Ostrang, George Brzezinski, Mike DeRusi, Libby Fletcher, Mark Martin, Thomas McKay, and John Vorpagel. So thank you for all of your work. When you consider the quality of bowling that we have and the excellence that we have in this sport in this town, it's not an easy job every year for the Hall of Fame committee. So we thank you for all of your work to make this evening possible as well, and a very memorable evening for everybody up here at the head table. All right, and now for the very, very special part of the night. As I said at the beginning, one of the most special things about this night is we have such a tremendous show of support and representation from Hall of Famers going back decades in this town. This is a very significant, very important night, and our Hall of Famers come back to support this night, which makes it just so much more special for all of our honorees tonight. So we're going to do it in order, as we all do. We do it every year chronologically. So from the class of 1967-68, once again, Anita Canaline is here with us. There she is. Then from the class of 1979-80, we have Thomas McKay. From the class of 1992-93, Carol Martin and Leona Obuchowski. And I want to make note that Leona, she lives up north and comes down every year from up north for this, and that is a show of real commitment for this special night. So thanks, Leona, for being here every year. You are a dear friend. All right, from the class of 1994-95, Mitch Jabczynski. And from the class of 1995-96, the man who bought you all a drink tonight, Lou and Sarah. I tell you, Lou, it reminds me of an old Rodney Dangerfield joke. I tell you, I get no respect at all. I walked into a bar and I said, hey, everybody, drinks on the house. They all went up on the roof. I tell you, I get no respect at all. Now, but thank you again, Lou, for everything you did tonight. Thank you so much. All right, from the class of 1997-98, we have Alita Sill joining us tonight. And from the class of 1998-99, Ken Kosick. There's Ken. From the class of 1999-2000, we have Cheryl Stipkak and Dorothy Thompson. And from the class of 2001-2002, Pete Ray. From the class of 2002-2003, please welcome Harry Sullins and Ed Wright. And from class of 2003-2004, Mark Martin. Of course, Mark's going to be here. Class of 2004-2005, Jean Gebbia. And the class of 2005-2006, Janet Dimmer is here. Class of 2007-2008, welcome Hall of Famer Carol Davis. And we have 3 members of the class of 2008-2009 joining us this evening. Oh, and I missed, from the class of 2007-2008, also Virginia Austin from that class. We try to keep you together by class. Sorry, Virginia. I had it out of order, but I know you're here. I know you're here. All right, the class of 2008-2009, we have Jeff Ostrang, Libby Fletcher, and Ken Wyatt. And then the class of 2009-2010, we have Ed Ostrang and Betty Trimper. And then from the class of 2010-2011, Paul Stewart and Novella Daniels. Wait. Oh. I've just been informed and this was not on my list, from the class of 2000-2001, Carmen Allen is here. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you so much. There you are. All right. From the class of 2011-2012, Roy Biggs is here, of course, tonight. Now, this wouldn't be a night without Roy being here. He's here every year. And then we have a lot of representation from the class of 2012-2013. We have Rick Capaldi, Randy Shank, Mike Clements, and Dave Ewald. And from the class of 2013-2014, Eddie Grace III and Angela Wilt. From the class of 2016-2017, we have Lauren Roberts and Tony Stipkak. And by the way, in case you didn't know, because I mentioned earlier, there was another Stipkak. There was Cheryl Stipkak mentioned. Tony and Cheryl are only the 3rd couple, as a couple, that are in the Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame, and that is especially noteworthy, so congratulations to you two. We have 3 representatives from the class of 2017-2018. We have Teresa Ketchpole, Mike DeRusi, and Marty Marshall. And finally, from last year's class, we have Scott Bowersock and Ed Pert. So once again, thank you especially to all of you Hall of Famers for being here. This is truly a very, very special night. And now I see Mark coming up to my left here. Is there another one? Oh, I know. Yeah. And Mark thought I forgot something. I didn't. All right, so now we get to the moment of truth for the people up here at the head table. We have our Hall of Fame inductions. So our first honoree tonight is Yvonne Jones, and here to present the award to her is Ronald Taylor.
It's the most awesome feeling ever. I am so humbled to be in this category today and to have my picture on a board and on a plaque. There's no words to describe how humbled I am and how grateful I am that I have been chosen to be amongst some of the most elite bowlers. It's awesome. I was at work and I screamed so loud till my boss was like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "You have no idea the message I just received on my phone." She was like, "Really?" I said, "I don't think I could have gotten any better news than what was just given to me." So she said, "Okay, well, you can scream one more time." And I shouted from the top of my lungs that I actually made it. Well, my dad. Actually was a bowler, and he bowled at Harper Rec. And out of 7 kids, 5 of us decided we wanted to bowl like our dad. So, and that's how I got my start at the age of 10. My fondest memory is actually when I first started bowling, and I was actually on Bowling for Dollars. It was a game show that came on television, and you had to knock down 10 pins. But if you did it, for every pin you knocked down, you received $1. And I only knocked down 8 pins. So I received $8. And that was one of my most fondest moments, was being on television. I truly fell in love with bowling at the age of 18. That's when I started bowling in adult leagues, and I saw the competition. And believe it or not, Mark, back then I was a backup bowler. But I still loved the game, and I loved the competition. And I said, I want to be like this bowler. I want to be like this bowler. I want to be a great bowler. And I watched and I watched. And I had a person who decided to help me learn how to hook the ball. And that is when I became a true bowler. Everything. Bowling means everything. I do not plan on stopping. I plan on continuing to bowl until I can't pick up a ball anymore. It means the world to me. It truly does. And I am very thankful to my dad, who has passed on, for introducing me to this game. I am Yvonne Jones, 2019 Hall of Famer. I enjoyed this. I want to scream one more time.
Do it.
Woo!
Good evening. I'm Ronald Taylor, and I have the pleasure of introducing my mother, Yvonne Jones, into the... Thank you. Into the 2019 Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame.
Thanks to my beautiful 18-year-old son, who is also a bowler, and is awesome. Let me start by saying that I am very humbled to be here today. I recently just lost my brother a few weeks ago, and it's been very, very hard for me. But I knew that he would want me to be here today, to see all these beautiful faces and to speak. So that's what I'm here for. And I once again thank everyone for being here today, and I thank everyone who decided to let me join in on this lavish event. So thank you for that. I would like to say that I started bowling at the age of 10, bowling at Harper Rec. Now, many of you probably never have set foot in that bowling alley. Some of you have, and for those who have, you know that that was a really, really tough house. There was never machines. It was just spray and a mop. That's how the lanes were dressed. So if you bowled in that house and you averaged 160 to 180, you definitely averaged 2021 anywhere else. Harper Rec was definitely a hard house. UBQ. And UBQ. Yes, can't forget UBQ. At the age of 18, I decided to venture out. And I started bowling in adult leagues, starting at Royal Lanes. But once again, I was a backup bowler, so I wasn't that good. and I still only averaged 160 outside of Harperette. Yes. That's okay. It's the truth. So one day a person decided to help me, to learn how to hook the ball. He said, there's no way you're going to be able to compete backing the ball up. So I kept an open mind, and I decided to let this person teach me how to bowl, to really bowl. And with the help of William Moore, Carlton Chambers, and my driller at the time, Lonnie Olson, it took about a year, but they definitely helped me. And once I learned how to hook the ball, it was all she wrote. That was it. And I decided that I wanted to venture out more by competing in bowling tournaments, and I did that as well. And once again, with USBC and all of the bowlers I bowled with, I was even in the newspaper once with Dave Ewall. So that was awesome for me to be next to him in the newspaper. Okay. Well, Dave was in the newspaper with me. That's right. I still had a lot to learn about bowling. So there was a team that I bowled with on Sundays at Royal Lanes, Queens and Kings. And I bowled with a team called the Hired Killers. That's right. And that team consisted of myself, Novella Daniels, Mike Wilcox, Gerald Johnson, and Dwayne Henderson. Okay. Now, there was one person on that team who was an inspiration to me, and I stated this at the TMBA. Novella Daniels. I definitely would love to say thank you, because I watched you and I watched you, and I got so tired of the team winning money, and I couldn't. I studied you. I watched your technique, and the one thing that I saw, that no matter what you did, you rolled the ball the same way every single time. And I said, that's what I need to do. I need to definitely make sure I roll my ball the same every single time. So I practiced and I practiced, because I wanted to be as good as you, especially being on the same team with you. And I did that. And I was able to compete with you and against you. And that was a pleasure for me. Love you too. So with that being said, I have bowled plenty of threes, not a lot, but enough. I have a few 800s as well. I also have won a couple of tournaments. Not that many, but a couple. So I'm happy about that as well. So one tournament I won, I actually bowled 300, 800, and I won the Queens. So that was awesome for me as well. Yes, ma'am, Carmen. Yes, ma'am. I don't have a lot to say here today. But once again, I am humbled, I am grateful, and I thank everyone here today. I thank everyone that I've ever bowled with, that I've competed with, that has helped me over the years to elevate my game to a level that satisfied me. And I'm not done yet, not done by a long shot. Even at the age of 52, I still have a lot of years left in me with this game here. I'm sorry. But the one person that I would like to thank that is not here today, that is my dad. Because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't know the game the way I know it today. So Ralph Jones, thank you truly for introducing me to this game. I love all of you. Thank you.
Wow. is the most sensitive microphone I have ever experienced in my entire life. Wow. Okay. Where's the duct tape? We'll fix it. Yeah, we can fix anything with duct tape, that's for sure. All right. Our next honoree is Gerald Johnson, and we're going to do the video before we have the induction by Lou and Sarah.
Excited, overwhelmed, nervous, but it was probably the best feeling I've ever had when it pertains to bowling. It means everything. It means everything to me. It means everything to my family. And it's just, words are hard to describe. Well, Mark, I was 14 bowling in the youth league over at Garden Bowl, and that's where I got started at in that program. As soon as I picked that ball up, it was something I really enjoyed and I knew I wanted to do.
So when did you get the name Strobl?
Oh, Mark, that's a good question. I think bowling in the youth league at Garden Bowl, someone called me that one day and it stuck. I don't know why, but for some reason it stuck. My fondest memory probably has to be winning the Bill Rodman Memorial Tournament in 1991, because Bill Rodman was such a mentor and idol of mine, and winning the Central Regional title was something I'll never forget. That has to be one of them, but probably winning the PBA doubles tournament in Canton, Ohio with my best friend, rest his soul, Michael Chapman. That would probably be my greatest accomplishment. I have quite a few, but that one probably sticks out more than any. I think I've been very fortunate, and hopefully it continues. Yeah, I'd like to say hi to my family, my 4 boys, Gerald, DeAndre, Deshaun, Trayvon, and the love of my life and my bowling partner, Brandy Reamy. I'm Gerald Johnson, a 2019 Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame.
And here to present this beautiful honor is Lou and Sarah.
Okay, a lot of stuff here. Hold on to that. Gerald Stroker Johnson. Got the name as a young man, like he said, and it stuck, and he's been sticking it to everybody ever since. First and foremost, though, I'd like to congratulate all the inductees and honorees. You're very deserving of this honor, and I really, really wish you well tonight. I've known Gerald since he came into the All-Star Classic as a young, cocky, brash young man with a ton of swagger. But he lived up to it all. You could see how great he would be when you watch him throw the ball. He would mature to one of the finest gentlemen of the sport. He's always congratulating and cheering on everybody to do and be their very, very best. Winning or losing, matter not, he's a gentleman. During the time Gerald was establishing himself as one of the best bowlers in the state, he managed to raise a family, 4 boys of whom he's very proud and loves very much and takes care of until this very day. I think he might agree that being a bowler, a great bowler, is behind him being a better father. And he really is. Brandy is better half, and quite a good bowler herself, by the way, has been a pillar of strength to him and his family. And Brandy, this day is for you too as well. Stroker's accomplishments, of course, as you know or don't know, are very numerous and too many to mention in full, but I will hit some highlights. He's won over 50 tournaments. I'm still waiting for my first. And as you can read and keep in mind, he didn't bowl all the tournaments that Detroit offered him. He was busy raising a family, and he would have won many, many more. So he's an SSO, the Senior Singles Open, all-time leader in titles. Not easy to go through the crowd of bowlers that we have in that tournament. And he has been also 7 times, well, maybe after this year, 7 times the bowler of the year. The SSO's most, the most prestigious bowler and a great asset to our tournament, always promoting and always cheering, as I said earlier, everybody on. Tonight, some of your directors are here tonight to cheer you on, and that would be Ken Wyatt, John Ruggiero, Harry Sullins, and Tom Knoll, and me. In 1991, was that 28 years ago, he won the Rodman Championship, not the regional, the national championship. So that's quite an accomplishment. And he was a younger man at the time. I think he's gotten better. This past year, in February, he won the True Amateur Tournament, the TAT, which I was able to witness and was proud and honored to see him win. He deserved it. He's just that good. But the one of the tournaments that will always be etched in his heart forever is the 2016 PBA doubles title, which he threw a 300 game in, by the way, with his great and late friend, Mike Chapman. Tonight, Gerald Mike is looking down on you very proudly. You've always thanked him for being his partner, but also a very dear friend. So tonight, without further ado, it gives me great honor and pleasure to present to you the newest inductee to the MD USBC Hall of Fame, my good friend, Gerald Stroker Johnson. We're presenting you with USBC recognition, your plaque, and something new that I never got. Detroit Bowling, well, you'll see it. A pin, congratulations, my brother. Okay, brother?
That'll be good. Thank you, Louis. I appreciate it. That's Michigan's greatest ambassador to bowling, Lou and Sarah. Without him, I don't think I'd be up here today without the SSO, and like I said, I'm very grateful. I'd like to start off by thanking my family and friends for attending today. My boys, they mean the world to me. My son, Gerald, my son, DeAndre, who stepped out for a second. That's nothing new for him. My son, Deshaun, and my son, Trayvon. I've always wanted to be a great father, and I think I've actually accomplished that. And they mean more to me than anything I'll ever do in bowling. Like I said, my boys are everything to me, and I love you guys with all my heart. I'd like to recognize Linda, Remy, Brandy's mom, and Sophie Munchkin for being here today. My love, Brandy, my doubles partner, a future Hall of Famer one day, my future wife, Libby. Put a ring on it, right, Libby? Where you at, Libby? Put a ring on it, Libby. I love you, B. I want to acknowledge some of the great bowlers from my past whom I learned many great lessons from. You might know some of these people: John Burnhill, the late Bobby Williams, the late Dave Chappelle, Reggie Denard, and my main man, Edwin Pert, who's a Hall of Famer who's here today. I'd like to congratulate all the inductees today. Carol Roberts, I don't know Carol that well, but congratulations, Carol. Debra Dickerson, it's like family, her and Mike. I love them to death, man. Yvonne Jones, I've been knowing Yvonne for over 25 years. Y'all call her Yvonne, we call her Miss Vaughn. We call her Miss Vaughn. I've been knowing her for 25 years. She's been a class act, as you can see when she got up here today, the way she spoke. And I know her whole family, Michelle, her brothers, I love them all. Dave Eatmon, another class act, a great bowler. And my man, Eddie Mintz. I want to talk a little bit about Eddie. I've been competing against Eddie for about 10 years now, and he's probably one of the toughest bowlers I've ever come across. We didn't always get off on the good foot. We had a little issue. I think we're like some of the, he's probably one of my better friends now. He's a class act. I'm telling you, I got to learn a few things about this man. This man is a class act, and his beautiful wife is just as classy as he is. And Eddie, I want to congratulate you. I'd also like to recognize, some of the Hall of Famers in attendance who I've been fortunate to bowl with. I haven't had a chance to bowl with all of you Hall of Famers, but people like Mike Clemens, Ken Kosick, Dave Ewall, Mitch Jabzinski, Tony Stipcat, Edwin Pert, Scott Bowersock. I don't want to leave out anybody. Ken, of course, Ken Wyatt. He's cost me a couple titles, but I'll still mention Kenny anyway. Ken Wyatt, and of course the great Harold, the legend, Sullins. Like I said, if I forgot somebody, it was not intentional, but these are gentlemen that I've actually bowled against and some of the greatest bowlers ever, and I've been very fortunate. I'm very proud and humbled to be a member of this club, the Hall of Fame. 2019 has been a year that dreams are made of, winning the TAT tournament in Las Vegas, thanks to Lou and Sarah, and I hope he spent some of that money, along with 5 other tournaments this year. But as great as this year has been, it's still not the same without my best friend, Michael Chapman. He passed away over a year ago, and like Lou said, we won the PBA doubles tournament together in Canton, Ohio, and he meant the world to me, and he will always be missed. I love you, Mike, and I know you're shining down on me. You have for the entire year, because all of this couldn't be happening without you. You told me that I'd be here one day, and of course, Chappie was right again. And like I said, I'd like to thank everyone, the Hall of Fame committee, for inducting me, and thank you.
Congrats very much, Stroker. Now, you'll notice he got the nickname Stroker, which I think would suggest that there's something about his game that's pretty good. See, in my league, they call me Spud. So there's a bit of a difference in bowling ability, let's say. Our next inductee is Ed Mintz, and he will be presented by his wife, Denise, in a moment, but first we have this video.
I'm on a cruise with my mom and my wife. After dinner, we go to the show. After the show is over, the cruise director comes on and announces morning events, where you should be, so on and so forth. And then as I'm almost getting up ready to leave, he says, Eddie Mintz, Eddie, I know you're out there somewhere. Would you please come up? I proceed to walk up there, and the cruise director says, "Hi Eddie, where are you from?" I said, "I'm from the Detroit area. I've been to Detroit many times. I have a friend that lives in Redford. I'm very fond of that area. And I know you're traveling with your mom and your wife." And then he proceeds to, and then he says, and he talks about the internet being a very powerful thing with a lot of information these days. And Eddie, I'm going to tell you something that both you or your mom don't know. You just got elected to the Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame. Well, in my true fashion, I start to cry right away. What happened was, during the show, my wife was thumbing through her phone and finds the press release announcing this. So she, wanting to do something special, excuses herself during the course of the show, which I didn't even know she left, to the bathroom, to the cruise director to ask him to make that announcement. And I mean, with my mom there and my wife, absolutely priceless, a memory I will never, ever forget. Couple city team titles, fortunate to win a doubles title. Last year we won the team state title. Those things by far stand out in my mind as great accomplishments because I was able to share them with my teammates. I want to strike every time I put the ball in my hand, and I will continue to bowl as I have in the past, and whatever it holds, it holds. I'm not going to lie to you, there's probably a few things I would like to win, but if it was all said and done tomorrow, I'd be the happiest and luckiest guy in the world. I'm Eddie Mintz, 2019 Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame.
Well, Ed's wife, Denise, is coming on up to induct him, and his son, David, is coming all the way in from California. So that's who's been sitting up here at the head table with Ed, but Denise will do the honors.
It's not going to go very well.
We're both a mess at this kind of stuff. I want to start with thank you. A little bit more information than probably most people need to know. But it is where my experience with Eddie on the lanes began. I bowled on a league adjacent to Eddie back in the 90s. I was familiar with his intensity on the lanes, how serious he was, and no doubt his talent. So when a friend approached me and asked if I would fill in for the remainder of a bowling league, on a couples league, I had to ask, who was it with and why do you need a bowler? And when she told me, well, Eddie kicked his wife off the team. I thought, oh sure, I'll sign up for that program. I did fill in for those final few weeks. And so a couple years later, sorry, David. So a couple years later, when a large crowd gathered behind a pair of lanes at Super Bowl, back when it was a really huge deal that people would gather when somebody had 9 strikes in a row, I found out later that I was witness to his first 300 game. And I thought, I know that guy. So as fate would turn out, little did I know that this man would eventually become my husband, and I would have many more opportunities to be a part of so many bowling accomplishments. I started bowling very late in life, so I was always enjoyed hearing the stories of bowling from a child competing in the World Games at Madison Square Gardens and high school team competitions. And for our first state, let me repeat, our first state, he invited me to go to Reno. And I saw the National Bowling Stadium, and I was in awe. I was a typical league bowler, and I didn't know much about bowling tournaments at any level. So it was a lot of fun to watch him compete. So people always ask, did I take up bowling for Eddie? No, I loved bowling long before I loved Eddie. But I love it so much more now that I have somebody to share it with, like Eddie. So he's taught me a lot about bowling. First and foremost, he convinced me I really needed to stop throwing a backup ball. That had to stop immediately. However, that might be where it ends, because if any of you have ever been witness to watching Eddie bowl, his form might not be something you want to emulate. So I'm really happy that this honor does not take bowling style into consideration.
Amen.
What he does try to teach me is reading the lanes and knowing your equipment. His ability to consistently repeat shots, many wish that they could pick up that part of his game. The sport of bowling remains a very big piece of our life 21 years later. There is never a question when either of us look at each other and say, there's this bowling tournament I want to do. Even if it means going out of state or wherever or traveling, there's never a doubt that our friends know between us. It's no doubt. You go, you do what's natural for both of us, and it's not something we would ever want to take away from each other. Many, many, many friendships have enriched our lives through bowling. He is very fortunate to have many of those friends and family with him here tonight. Many local friends and family. Some have traveled from Florida, from California, and Arizona to be here with him. Roger and Mike from Flagstaff, Arizona, have bowled with Eddie through his college years and 37 national bowling tournaments. They're here with him tonight, and I guarantee you they probably have some really good stories. You might want to talk to them sometime. But finally, I want to share with you the absolute most important thing that you need to know about Eddie. For those of you who do not know him, his level of integrity, passion, and discipline for the sport of bowling, as well as any sport, and more importantly, all aspects of love, life, and family are like no one else that I know. I'm so thrilled that his integrity and passion and discipline have rewarded him by bringing him many accomplishments on the lanes and are being recognized with this honor. So with that, I am beyond proud to be able to introduce to you 2019 Hall of Fame inductee, Eddie Mintz.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I guess really, really cool. And if you guys would help me out, maybe stop staring at me and turn around the other way, would really, really make this easier for me. It really, really would. All right, Lou. Yeah. So I moved here in 1992, and bowled for a number of years, obviously, before that. And it didn't take me long to grasp and understand the significance of the rich history, the storied history of bowling in the Metro Detroit area. Yeah, not long at all. And to think that at this point that I'm a small part of that is just mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling. Overwhelmed, just like everybody up here, and very, very honored. So thinking about this honor and knowing that somebody needed to come up here and introduce you, I thought long and hard about it. And of all my friends, I said, you know, who, and I kept coming back to the same thought. I said, who can, and he said, you know what? None of my friends, none of them look like that. And honey, I'm glad that you thought enough of the speech not to rewrite anything that I wrote for you to say tonight. Well done, well done. You know, to my fellow inductees, you know, I think we all share the same feeling. What an honor and what a privilege it is to share the stage with you guys tonight on this special occasion, as will forever, ever be linked to the 2019 class of Metro Detroit Hall of Fame. Maybe one day even a trivia question about who was the inductees in the 2019 Hall of Fame. But anyway, and all of you guys here tonight that are here in support of me, just know from the bottom of my heart that you've had a significant influence on me, both on the lanes and off the lanes. And I promise you, everybody here, I am not standing up here tonight without those people, and they know who they are. And I won't name them because I'll start to cry. So they know who they are. You know, maybe just a real brief chronology of my bowling past, where it started, and a few stories along the way that resonate with me and have for years and years. I was born in Illinois, and at the age of 8, the neighbors, who were very dear friends of ours, he was a bowler, and he gave me my first bowling ball. It was black, of course. And the one thing that I don't remember much of anything about bowling back then, but I remember taking these stickers. They were what I remember them being Flower Power stickers, and putting them all over my bowling ball. Don't ask me why I did it, but I mean, I was 8 years old, and I did, and then, of course, getting disappointed when it came back from the ball return all mangled up and everything like that. But that's the only thing I remember, literally, about that point in my life. So then from there, when I was 9 years old, we moved to Florida and joined the Bantam Leagues. And as my wife mentioned, when I was 10, there was a tournament called the United States Youth Games. And it was a pretty big to-do, and you had to qualify. And they took 2 people from each age group, starting with 10-year-olds all the way up to 16-year-olds. And I was fortunate enough to qualify from my area, and you competed against people from all around the country. And I literally bowled in Madison Square Garden when I was 10 years old. And I remember very vividly, there's a picture that we have of me sitting in the airport. We all wore these green jackets when we went, and I was sitting on the floor next to a 16-year-old bowler who had a full beard, and there I am, 10 years old, sitting next to him, and I can see the picture as I close my eyes. And my mom and dad were there. It was incredibly special. I didn't win. I finished 3rd, but it was just one of those memorable things, just a real memorable event. So after that, oh boy. At that point, we're in Florida, and bowling in the Bantam Leagues and the Junior Leagues, and then at 13 years old, I got a job in a bowling alley. I don't know if it was to make money or get better at pinball machines, but I job in a bowling alley, and one weekend, I'm there working, and the local group were there, and one of the guys, they started talking about bowling for money, and how it ended up, I don't know, but I said, I'll bowl you for money. And we decided on $50 for a 3-game series. I was 13 years old. I was working in the bowling. So I called my dad, and I said, Dad, I just got into a pot game with this guy for $50. He goes, okay, why are you calling me? Why aren't you bowling? And I said, well, because I don't have $50. So in his true fashion, because he thought I was the greatest bowler that ever walked the face of the earth. Literally, we were around the corner from the bowling alley. Within 10 minutes, he was up there giving me $50, and I won. But needless to say, again, just a memory that sticks out in my mind. So then now, fast forward to high school. I was fortunate enough to bowl on my high school team. And we had these pitiful green-looking shirts. They looked like tablecloths, but they were green. And they were hand-me-downs. Every year, they would pass them on to the next high school bowlers. So I was a freshman, and there was another kid who was a freshman on the team. And the seniors came up to us before the first match, and they said, look, we have a tradition. When you bowl your first match as a freshman, you don't wash or iron your shirt. All right. I don't think anything of it, and the other guy. So we show up to our first match with shirts that look like jigsaw puzzles. And, of course, all of the seniors and the other people are laughing at us because that really wasn't the case, but just for freshmen, that was the case. And here I am, sitting there looking just like a mess, bowling my first match in high school. So anyway, now I'm on to college, and I went from Florida out to Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, and didn't go there for bowling, but found out they had a team and ended up bowling on the high school team, on the college team for 4 years, and local league bowling. There were 2 bowling alleys in town at the time, and the gentleman that Denise mentioned earlier, Roger, owned one of them. And my other friend Mike is here. And anyway, I met them bowling in league. And my first year in college, they said, we go to this annual tournament, the ABC tournament, and we'd like you to come. Well, 37 years later, those are the guys that I go with every single year. And it's really, really special. So now, after college, I'm back to Florida. I started working with GMAC. And about 10 years post-college, and I have an opportunity to go to Detroit to work in our executive offices. Well, at that time, that was the thing to do, so, off I go to Michigan in 92. And I bought a house in Canton, so, of course, Super Bowl is right behind my house, and that was the first league I started to bowl in. And during that year, I met Pat Klein, and he bowled in the league, and I guess we weren't necessarily happy with the teams we had, so the following year we decided to put a team together and bowl together, and did for many, many years, and have 20 consecutive Peterson years together, and certainly had a wonderful, wonderful time doing that. And then, as time's gone on in league, I start to meet other people, build relationships, camaraderie. Mitch, everybody that's out here, Mitch and Garrett and Scott, and bowl in more and more tournaments, just an unbelievable experience. The friendships, the camaraderie, been fortunate to win a few things, but that aside, which means so much less than the significance of the relationships that you have with people. So anyway, that's pretty much a chronology of my bowling to this point. I'm glad that that the committee did not decide on this award based on my recent performances, but nonetheless, it's truly an honor. And honored to have the only 2 coaches that I've ever had in my life here tonight. Unofficial gold level coaches. The first of which is my mom. She used to come. Wait, you haven't heard the rest of it. Wait a minute, wait. So she used to come watch me as a young bowler, and it seemed like every time I didn't strike, she would be back there going, thumb in the air, thumb in the air. And every time I didn't strike. And there's one person in this world that can get me going, and that's her. So probably within 5 frames, I was crying, as I'm very capable of doing. and getting more and more frustrated at every single time I don't strike, and she's thumb in the air, thumb in the air. Yeah, unofficial gold level certified coach, no doubt about that. And she's the same lady that was the only parent at my Little League baseball games that used to scream at me when I would try and get out of the way of a pitched ball, because she would yell, "Let it hit you, you'll get on base, you'll get on base." The only parent that used to do that. She knows it's true. And also, one Little League football game, I wasn't the quarterback, but another guy, she was on the sidelines, and literally, she ran the entire sideline with this quarterback to the end zone while he scored a touchdown. My mom. Okay, so my other unofficial coach in the room is Mr. Jibzinski. Yeah, unofficial. So it seems like they got certified at the same place because Mitch and I have bowled in a lot of tournaments together, and it seems like every time I don't strike, he said, "Would you please follow through? Would you please follow through?" And you guys in the room that know Mitch, we've, again, bowled in a lot of tournaments together, and it seems like wherever we bowled, every time I didn't strike, I felt like this little devil used to pop up right here. And he used to say, "Eddie, follow through." And invariably, I would look three pair down or whatever, and there was Mitch. He'd go, follow. He even told me, he said, "You know what? If you learn how to follow through, you could be good one day." So one night in league, I went up to him in a very serious way, and I said, "You know what, Mitch? I'm thinking about putting a training video together." He looked at me. I said, "No, yeah, really, seriously." And I said, "Why, maybe you come in on it with me. We get together and collaborate and do a..." And he goes, "Serious?" He said, "No." I said, "Mitch, we're good friends." I said, you don't want to make an investment with me?" And he, of course, thought I was extremely serious. And he said, "No, Eddie, I don't." And I expressed myself that I was very upset that he wasn't going to participate with this with me. But for all of you guys out here that have seen me bowl, you know the only reason I would put a training video together would be to teach people what not to do. That's it. Mitch, you know about it, right? You know, I'm actually doing a whole lot better than I thought I'd be doing, to be honest with you. But to the Hall of Fame committee, well, first of all, my son. I got to tell you a story about my son real quick. He came from California, but there's one memory that sticks out in my mind with him is he was bowling in a high school tournament, and he had, at Sunnybrook Lanes, and Denise and I were there, and he had the front 8 strikes. He was a decent bowler. He was a 190-something average bowler. And I was sitting back there, as you all know that have children, how significant it is when a child is doing something and how attached you are to the moment. And I was talking to my wife, just literally squeezing the wrought iron rails that were at Sunnybrook Lanes and saying, "Honey, what am I going to do if he shoots at 300? What am I going to do?" I was nuts. I didn't know what to do. So he gets up in the 9th frame and proceeds to throw the ball in the right-hand gutter. You talk about deflating and sticking a pin in a balloon. I mean, I just, like a snake, just slithered right underneath my chair. It was absolutely horrible. But son, you remember that. Yeah, we remember that. As much as you disappointed me that day, and you did, there's one occasion, and I won't mention any names, where my son almost disowned me bowling in a tournament. I think it was a mid-state Masters. I don't know. It was at Super Bowl, actually. And I was bowling against somebody that was probably 3 times my age, and I lost. He, to this day, does not let me forget about that. Right? Exactly right. But in spite of that, son, I'm here. I made it to the Hall of Fame committee from the bottom of my heart, to Mark and the entire MDUSBC staff that do the things that they do, to my family and my friends. One of the most memorable, significant days of my life, and I will never, ever forget it. Thank you so much.
You know, Ed, we've heard enough references to your form tonight, but you know, it's not that unusual. Those of you who are golf fans know there's a professional golfer named Jim Furyk. You would never teach your kid to golf like him, but all that matters is he gets that club square at impact, and he's one of the best golfers in the world. And so, it may not be pretty, Ed, but you know what? When you get to the line, if you're doing the right thing,
It's not pretty.
right, but if you're doing the right thing when you get to the line, you can accomplish great things, and clearly you have. So congratulations. Oh, and by the way, David, I was once bowling in the state bowling tournament here. This is back in the 80s, playing a way outside line. I had the front seven, and back in those days, people actually would stop to start watching, you know, and then, of course, I put the eighth ball on the channel, so I feel your pain. I've recovered. All right, our next inductee is Debra Dickerson. She will be inducted by Mike Dickerson, but first we have a video.
Oh my God, I think I was screaming at the top of my lungs. And then I was crying and I was shaking, and oh wow, it was the most stupendous feeling ever. It was very exciting. Still excited. Well, at 10 years old, my brother started me, and I threw between my legs. Back then, between the legs was between the legs two-handed. That was two-handed between the legs. And at 10, he went off to the service. I didn't get back into bowling until I was probably about 18. But at that time, 18, 19, I had 2 kids, so I had dragged to the bowling alley with me. And of course, my kids bowl. And I was bitten. The bug got me. Well, I have a couple fondest memories. The first one would be the time that my son and I were both on 300 at the same time. Of course, he got his, I didn't. I think I ended up with 258. But it was exciting to think, oh, mother, son doing it in the same game. That was fun. And then another time after I got injured, I hurt my back and I was back bowling. I was at Hazel Park, which is now closed. I had 500 going into the third game. My teammates said, oh, all you need is 300 for 800. I was like, oh, is that all? And I proceeded to shoot 299. So I missed my second 800 by 1 pin, but that was exciting, especially after being injured. It means that I feel like I had the tenacity to keep at it. I've been doing it a very long time. I also have a tendency to draw people in to do tournaments and tell them, you know, this could be you, or make this accomplishment, or do this. I've had that happen quite a few times, where I brought people in and say, oh, you should bowl the Queen's tournament. And I make them come and they win it the first time. So that's happened a few times with some people that I'm associated with, and hopefully I can get some of them to be in the spot I am today. I'm Debra Dickerson, 2019 Detroit Bowling Hall of Famer.
And we now invite Michael Dickerson to induct Debra.
Yeah, that's good. Good evening, all. My name is Mike Dickerson. Here to present my mom, Debra Dickerson. She's been an avid mentor, coach, love of my life from day one. Of course, it's my mom. I hate to give shots out in an event like this because it's about my mom, but a whole bunch of people here, the bowling world, Alita Seal, one of my coaches, Gerald Johnson, a great friend, Kenny Allen, Edwin Pert, Miss Vine. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to stand here and look at all these beautiful people for the bowling world of Metro Detroit. It's been a long journey, being dragged in the bowling alleys through bowling for dollars, like Ms. Vine said, to stand here at a podium to present a Hall of Famer. I mean, for years and years, it's dedication. Raising a family, a mother, single mother by herself, doing it over and over. Like I said, great mentors, Eric Fisher, rest in peace, to help me proceed the goals that I do, not only in bowling, but in life. It's just a joy to be here. So here to present Debra Dickerson, 2019 Hall of Famer. Congratulations.
Okay, my speech is not long, and I had to type mine out because I don't want to get watery-eyed like I did with Mintz here. Good evening, all. Thank you for attending, and congratulations to the new class of Hall of Famers. Also, thank you to my family and friends in attendance. There is something about this sport that will suck you in, especially as a kid. This sport is family-oriented. It's not gender-specific. It's not size-specific. It's not strength-specific. It's fun, competitive, and binding, where you can find friends for life. I'm very fortunate to be among the class of bowlers. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought this would come true. From winning a state title with two previous Hall of Famers, Marty Marshall and Terry Catchpole, to winning a city title with a bestie, Lauren Roberts' mother, Carol, and Carol Roberts' daughter, Lauren, and my daughter-in-law, Felicia, to winning a TNBA doubles title with a bestie, Alisa Hudgens, to being named as a TNBA Female Bowler of the Year. I have had highs and lows, but the highs far outweigh the lows. My brother Harrison introduced me to bowling at the age of 10, but when I was old enough to get out on my own, I was smitten, and I have been in love for 45 years. Hopefully, the love affair continues. Thanks to my kids for tolerating getting dragged around the bowling lanes. Thanks posthumously to my parents, who would be very proud, especially my mom, who was smitten with bowling later in life because of me. Thanks posthumously to my coach, David Mayhaus, who gave me all my lessons. Thanks to God, with him all things are possible. And a very special thanks to Eric Fisher, who put up with my stubbornness, my ride or die partner. I love you, and I wish you were here.
And last but not least, by any means, thanks to the Hall of Fame committee that voted me into this prestigious Hall of People. And that's all I got.
Oh, and by the way, she does bully people into bowling tournaments and stuff. I didn't want to be a bowler, so she forced me to be a bowler. So, yeah, I guess it did. Yep, thank you.
I'm not done bullying, because I'm going to get him in this Hall of Fame with me.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much, and congratulations. All right, David Eatmon is our next honoree. As we make our way now to this side of the head table, we will begin with a very nice video, and then we will have the induction by Ed Ostring.
Somewhat I'm speechless, and that's that's tough for me, not to be able to formulate words and carry on. I'm overwhelmed. I truly am. My dad was a bowler, my mom was a bowler, and you know how that handed down through the generations. The equipment came down to the kids, and the kids bowled. And the early 60s, bowling was huge. It was what everybody did. The leagues were full on Saturday mornings, and I just stuck with it. It just stayed with me. Bowling in here with Joe Norris. I believe it was the last time he bowled the Gavi, if I'm not mistaken, and that was obviously my first time having met him. And I've always remembered how, even in his elder years, he was always a cheerleader. He was always pulling for everyone, always encouraging. And I've had the opportunity over the years to bowl with a lot of the famous bowlers. And that probably sticks out the most because I was young, impressionable, and I was absorbing everything he had to say. When I joined the All-Star Classic, I had some resistance from some of the league bowlers that I had been with for years, because that was a level where now you had to step into an arena, pun not taken here, of bowling with the elite players in your hometown, occasionally seeing some of the elite players from the tour venture in and bowl in that league, and trying to hold your own with them. It was something that impressed me to such a degree. I wanted to find out before I died how good I personally was, and if I could measure up in some capacity to that level, I believe I could leave this world satisfied that on my day, I knocked down a few pins. My passion down deep inside, anybody who picks up a bowling ball, they want to knock down 10 pins. It doesn't matter if it's my granddaughter at 3 years old or us in our 60s. We want to knock down all we can. If you can help someone to perhaps get a little more proficient at getting in the proper zone to give them a better chance, they can feel the passion themselves, and perhaps that will impart on their wanting to become a consistent member of the game of bowling. And I would hope that some of those that I have spent some time with and I have shared some of my experience with will capture that. They will get that passion, and they will be able to take it and as well eventually share it themselves. I'm David Eatmon, 2019 Detroit Bowling Hall of Fame.
And please join me in welcoming Ed Ostring to do the induction honors. Nice to see you.
Here's Dave already trying to tell me how to do this. You know, Dave has 3 NSBA titles, 1 SSO title. He started a new organization for the older bowlers, 60 and over. And it's called the North American Super Senior Bowling Tour, which he got off the ground. Here's a guy that is bowled that many of us can't say that we have, but he is bowled with Ed Labansky, Joe Norris, and Gene Stuss. There's not a lot of people out here in this room that can say they bowled on teams with those 3 players. 35 years he bowled in the Detroit All-Star Classic. 3 times he won the Sportsman of the Year award. Served on the board with the USBC from 2009 to 2011. And I'm going to cut this short, mainly because his best friend flew in from Las Vegas for this. And I'm going to allow him to present him his plaque. Mike Clemens.
Oh, this is horrible. So I have a public fear of speaking. It's a nervous cry. I can't help it. It's
Here, Mike, I can help you out with that because I didn't use mine.
David is the only guy on the planet that I would come to Michigan from Las Vegas to do. This is the biggest fear that I have. So, what can I say about David? Whew. I've known David for 40 years. First met him at a bowling alley, of course. Gold Crown, which is now Bowl 1. I was just a kid working the concourse there, and they're out there bowling, and of course I'm trying to bowl. And I just, for whatever reason, gravitated to him, and not for his bowling skills, and not for his rev rate. If you've seen David bowl, there's only one other person that has come close in the rev rate, and it's probably Ken Wyatt, but I think David has less. I think David has less rev rate than you, which is, so he's got the honors of having the less amount of rev rate in the Hall of Fame for sure, without a doubt. And I've known him for 40 years, and there isn't a better man on the planet as a person. His bowling skills are okay. He used to beat me when I was 16, but didn't take long when I started whipping his butt, so that was a good thing. But Gerald Johnson, stroker, guys are awesome. I remember from the All-Stars. I really miss this town for the bowling. Vegas, nothing like Vegas, but for a bowling town, it's nothing like Detroit. And I'm honored to be. I was fortunate enough to get in 2012, and it's my biggest accomplishment. I'm in the Southern Nevada Hall of Fame, and I tell people it doesn't come close to Detroit. So for that, I have much more to say, but I can't get it out. So, David, love you, buddy.
You're still a toilet.
I wanted to tell that story, but I know you figured it out.
We tease each other. Fix this thing. Give me some duct tape. We'll get this thing. That's all right. Yeah, that'll work. Thank everybody for being here, especially Mike Clemens. We have so many memories, so many things that we have shared over the years, and distance may separate us, but the love has never waned. It's incredible. I like to go razz him when I watch him bowl when I'm in Vegas, and I know he enjoys doing the same thing here. Many people around this room right now have knocked down a lot of pins in your careers, and you've been truly blessed with the talent that you've been given from God. And there are those of us who truly admire your talents. With all that respect that we have for your talents, when we find out who you really are, when the bowling ball is out of your hand, when you are showing who you really are and we get to know who you really are, that's when you get to appreciate the people. Many people you come to know in the game, you admire them, and when you come to know them outside of the game, find out who they are, that's when you build relationships. And as you notice and you know yourself in your own lives, the relationships that you build through this game, most of them are lifetime enduring, whatever distance or whatever may come between you, that relationship lasts. I do want to, again, thank everyone for being here, because many people made exceptions in their time and in their lives to come out here and honor us. And there are people on this podium that are way more deserving than I. But for every good deed, a booger flicker needs to be involved. And here I am. And I'll tell you a little bit of story about that booger flicker. Before I do that, I want to say, Gerald, you're a blessing in my life. Eddie, as well. Deb, Yvonne, Carol, all of you guys. Just the people that touch you in the game of bowling stay with you forever. I won't keep beating on that, but I'm going to read you something here to start this off with. To begin with, I thank God that each one is here today. This is a moment in time which will never be repeated. I also give thanks to my Lord for so richly blessing this event and answering prayers, because it's a downright miracle that I'm included here. Considering the accomplishments of those in attendance today, my inclusion has to be an act of God. To God be the glory. To those on the board who considered an old booger flicker worthy of this recognition, I thank you from the depths of my heart. I truly do. You've touched me deeply. I'm forever in your debt. A heartfelt thanks to my family and my dear friends who have endured so many of my absences. Your love and tolerance cannot be measured. And a special thank you to the true executive of the North American Super Senior Bowlers Tour, my wife, who does 99.9% of the work of that tournament. I'm serious as a heart attack. I'm not exaggerating. Those of you who have ran tournaments, if you've ran ongoing tournaments, you know what a pain in the butt it is. Not just for setting up and tearing down, but putting up with a lot of the bowlers. You have to have babysitting credentials that far exceed your personal life. The way I look at bowling, this game of 10 pins is addictive, as Debra alluded to. Bowlers will miss work due to sickness, but they'll show up at the lanes to give their best effort because of their love of the game. Anybody guilty out there? Yeah. We will brave snowstorms, thunderstorms, windstorms, whatever Mother Nature throws at us. We'll make it to bowling for the love of the game. We will forego appointments, miss deadlines, and bum rides if need be for the love of the game. We'll prepare and practice to sharpen our skills, often to go out to our leagues and fail miserably. After a little abuse, we pick ourselves up, go back to practicing, prepare for the next opportunity to bowl. We will endure frustration, pain, and self-doubt, yet show up again at league time, all for the love of the game. What is it about this game that makes us crazy? I remember Hartfield's in Berkeley when that was built. I joined a Saturday morning league, and this might have had a little something to do with my attitude about the game. A month into the season, I kicked a ball return. My mom was with me. My mom told me to get my bowling equipment. We're going home. She was not going to permit unsportsmanlike conduct. I didn't get to bowl till the following year. In 1965, I began bowling with Dave Walby at Thunderbird Lanes in Troy. My dad had beaten Al Thompson on TV, Beat the Champ, a local TV show. Kind of seemed like a natural move to bowl there. The following year, I began bowling at Gold Crown Lanes, also in Troy. My dad was the league president of the Friday night original 925 Classic, You guys remember when 925 was one of the premier numbers that people aspired to get to? 150 years ago, but it's true nonetheless. I did those league sheets for Hal Peters at 11 years old, being paid in open bowling, and I took as much advantage of that as I could. At 12 years old, I qualified in a youth tournament that allowed me to bowl in Mason, Michigan at a state-sponsored youth event. The bowlers were matched with pro bowlers in a 3-game event. I was matched with Eddie Lubansky. We won the event. I don't recall the scores. I don't recall the name of the tournament. What I remember was the way Eddie Lubansky made me feel. He encouraged me and cheered me on, offering tips and insight as he took the time to ensure that I would have a memory to last a lifetime, and indeed it has. I saw the man behind the bowler who had exhibited such kindness and patience with a kid he didn't even know. As my bowling journey continued, I bowled in Cecil Ward traveling leagues, places like Hazel Park, Fair Lanes, Birmingham Bowl, Oak Park Lanes, Mound Lanes, Yorba Linda, Royal Oak Bowl, Red Run, and Bolero Bowl. I think Bolero's still standing. That's maybe one of the last ones, right? As I got older, my full-time job required me to work afternoons, which altered my bowling plans. Gold Crown had a Wednesday morning league. A friend of mine who had bowled with my dad, Ron Stevens, asked me to join his team. This was during the transition from lacquer to short oil. The first day I arrived at bowling, I witnessed a couple of guys on the team playing on the extreme outside part of the lane. They were shooting boxcars. I was baffled. They were playing up the 1-2 board, right to the frog hair, and bringing it back to the pocket, and they made it look so easy with their ability. You got it. Though JP was prone to throw a few in the drink, he and Tom Trush were the names that mastered this ability to play the edge. They put on exhibitions that truly caused people to stop and stare. It was truly something to see if you had never seen that. I had to learn this shot because even though I was a booger flicker, my playing dead on, 10 down, I was not going to get it, missing the head pin. I had to learn how to get on the ditch. And I tried it. I went out there and threw about 40 in a row in the ditch. Threw about 40 in a row left of the head pin, and Tom Trush felt sorry for me, and he came over and he said, "Kid, why don't you just relax the arm and try to hit the 10 pin right up the edge of the lane? Just relax and do it. Try to hit the 10 pin." And I did that about a half a dozen times. But then I had that one shot that caught the one board, and it went up the edge of the lane. We're talking Black Beauties, by the way. Anybody remember Black Beauties? And it caught the one board up the edge of the lane and went flush to the pocket. Oh my goodness. I've shot some scores from other parts of the floor, but that part of the floor was a new horizon. It was incredible. As time went on, I became pretty proficient at that shot, but it became such that I became so proficient at it, if the shot went inside 10, I didn't know how to play. If I couldn't play the frog here, I didn't play very well. But time changes things. I have so much in my life that I've accomplished, but I have to credit much of it to Tom Trush, because there's a couple times in my life where through car accidents I didn't think I would ever bowl again, and twice Tom came to my rescue when I was going through rehab through a couple of serious situations. Tom was there and went through all the pain and agony, all the bitching that I was doing because it hurt, and he stayed with me to cause me to focus on it and work through that. And I do owe a lot to this man. The following season, I was invited to audition to bowl in the Detroit All-Star Classic. You guys remember when you had to audition? Some of you may never have done that. You weren't booger flickers. I was. I had to audition. So after displaying my abilities, I got to bowl on Bill Tucker's B team, which consisted of 5 deaf guys. That was an interesting experience. However, at the kickoff tournament is where I did get to meet and bowl with Joe Norris. And I truly was awestruck, because this was a man that he had no accolade. Who compared with him? This was the man. And I was captivated by his stories. Soon following that year, I would join S&B Pro Shop. Had the opportunity of bowling both Tuesday nights in the arena and traveling, and winning with Jeff Suma, Freddie Baus, Ronnie Odell, Bob Castle, Dave Tulak, Joe Krajinski, and Gene Stuss. Following that, I moved on with Lou Ivancic, approaching me to bowl with his State Farm team. His corral included Bobby Bittner, Ricky Ironman, Mike Lowry, Gene Stuss, Lou Ivancic, and Noble Williams. On a little side note, when I joined State Farm, Noble sat down next to me one night. He says, how's a booger flicker like you get to bowl with all these burgers? And I looked at him, I said, what you talking about? He says, you're always bowling with the best bowlers around here. How's a booger flicker like you get to do that? I said, every team needs a booger flicker, Noble. That's how that name came and kind of stuck. We had a pretty good team. We actually came away with the Cup championship. The following year, we had some personnel changes, and we saw Dick Beattie, Terry Marucci, Kevin Trumbull, and Lou Stimpian join us. Again, we found ourselves in the thick of it, repeated as Cup champions. The Tuesday All-Star Classic was a unique league. You could bowl against some of the best bowlers from all around Detroit, Chicago, Ohio, Northern Michigan. Man, what a league. The glory days, perhaps, of the All-Star Classic have passed us by. But thanks to Lou and Sarah, Ken Wyatt, and those who have still the passion for this game, for a competitive league like this, you can still see some of the best bowlers around at this area has competing for the coveted cup each Thursday night at a center near you. As I personally approach the latter frames of my personal bowling game, I look back with fondness on the memories and relationships I've enjoyed. Some will forever hold a cherished place in my memories, that being Joe and Eddie, Lou Ivancic and Gene Stuss, Bobby Bittner, Dave Chappelle, Tony Lindemann, Joe Paulus, Ron Bird, Harry Campbell, Terry Marucci, Ronnie Odell, Luke Leach, Ken Charette. Going back, huh, sis? Yeah, you betcha. And to those who become lifelong friends. I know I mentioned a lot of names here, and if I don't mention your name, don't consider it a slight. I'm old, I forget things. Folks like Junior Toilet, Mike Clemens, Tom Trush, Mike Lusich, Frank Gavi, Vito and Karen Cipriani, Wally Neicius, Carol Roberts, Ed Ostring, Eddie Grace, Tim Baker, Roland Snodgrass, Bill DeWitt, Eddie Mintz, Mitch, Tony, Cheryl, Gerald, Tommy Knoll, Lou and Sarah, Gary Zarek, Rick Masheri, Rick Schultz, and Paul Stewart. So many others who have left an indelible mark on my attitude toward the game. Overall, I've been so richly blessed. I have known those who have achieved the greatest the game has to offer, along with those who continue to work to become better bowlers. I've always had the habit of studying the game within the game and can't resist offering a small tip when it's requested. I don't know it all, but I do know I love to share, and if it were up to me, everyone who tries this game would fall in love and determined to improve. Sadly, in our instant gratification society, many are not willing to commit to improving. But for that one, even one, who seeks to learn, to improve, may we feel honored, if requested, to share what we may know for the love of the game. Because without the game, we wouldn't be here. If it were not for the game, we wouldn't have become friends with so many individuals. Relationships and shared experiences would not have occurred were it not for the game. A game that can be enjoyed by toddlers and the elderly alike. A game where the opportunity exists for every individual to hone their skills and have the opportunity to participate with their heroes. You can't even dream of doing that in other major sports. You have no opportunity to do so. However, in this game of 10 pins, you can do that very thing. Enter an open PBA event, and you may well cross with Walter Ray or Jason Belmonte or Shannon O'Keefe. That's incredible. Or bowl the Open Championships. Don't be surprised if you run into any of our professional bowlers while participating. Ultimately, it comes down to every single person participating because it's for the love of the game. In conclusion, I'm truly blessed to be bowling. I'm blessed by bowling. I'm blessed by those I know through bowling. Many memories and yet still making new ones, starting the North American Super Senior Bowlers Tour and all the support that we receive from all the bowlers who have a special event for themselves. We seem to be growing consistently. I thank everyone for their help with that. I thank Lou and Sarah for these SSO tournaments because without you, buddy, we don't have this going on. And you know, speaking of yesterday, what an insane event that was, exceeding any PBA event that I've participated in, exceeding any amateur event I've participated in. This guy is a class act. If you guys want to see some good bowling, find out where one of his events are. Come out and watch us. You'll see the best of the best. And then you get to see this guy. We're trying to get him banned. I'm trying to figure out how. If you can beat him, you got a shot at winning the tournament. Top shelf. I do want to say, the immense talent that is displayed in Lou's tournament when he runs these over and unders, he's got kids in there that are just absolutely phenomenal. Case in point, yesterday I had the opportunity to bowl with this young man named Perry Crowell. Some of you may know him. This guy's Team USA. You talk about talent. We made it to the top 8 in a field of 117 teams. Hats off to Larry and Ronnie for winning this event, but I was blown away with what these guys can do. Ronnie's standing, Mitch got to watch this with me, and all of you who witnessed the bowling yesterday, he's standing in front of the ball return and throwing over the left ditch, and he throws a strike, he leaves a 10 pin, and he takes it sheet, 10 in a row, and every shot was a mirror image. I swear to you, it was like a videotape running. And I'm watching these kids saying, how in the world can you be so proficient at such an extreme angle? He's did some practicing. My goodness. What other sports provide these opportunities? There are none. Old farts like me bowling with young, talented players like these. The game of bowling provides so much. Those of us here today need to remember, if we don't share our experiences and abilities to those who are coming behind us, our game will perish. We can't let that happen, folks. We can't wait for them to approach us, but if they do, we need to be available to them. As we must be salespeople, for the love of the game, we have to make time for them. Offer the guidance, instruction, whatever support you can, for the love of the game, because what you're sharing right now, wouldn't you love to see another generation behind us share that as well? For the love of the game. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Beautiful, really beautiful spoken. That was terrific. Booger flicker. I don't feel so bad about Spud now. There we go. All right, last but not least, our final inductee into the Hall of Fame tonight is Carol Roberts. She will be inducted by Leona Obachowski in just a moment, but first we have this wonderful video.
Oh my God. When my daughter was inducted into the Hall of Fame, I thought it was supposed to be. That's just the way it was. She's a great bowler, and she had accomplished so many things even as a youth and in the adult world. And so I was like 100% behind that, thinking that's just great. But anytime I would ever think about the things that I had done, they're nothing in comparison to the accomplishments that my daughter has made and half the friends that I hang around with bowling-wise. So it never dreamed, it was never even a thought to me other than, yeah, that'd be nice, you know, and especially going in with Lauren. That's just like the word, you know, I mean, it's the world to me. Here we are, mother and daughter, being inducted in, you know, the same Hall of Fame and being together at the same time, and I don't have to be dad to do it, so it's great. I'm not like everyone else who went with someone to the bowling alley and found out that bowling was a great thing. I knew nothing about bowling pretty much. A couple times when I was a kid, my parents took us bowling, and that didn't go very well because my sister threw nothing but gutter balls and my father wasn't going to spend any money to have her do that. So we didn't do that, but when I was 17, I worked at Kresge's, and we had a little group of people once a month on a Saturday night we would go bowling. I still knew nothing about bowling. I just figured if you threw the ball down at the head pin and hit it dead on, you would get a strike. I knew nothing about keeping score. I just went there strictly for the fun of it. Eventually I did learn and I became better, and becoming better, you get more interested in the game. I developed friends, and I have some wonderful long-time relationships because of bowling, and I cherish them all. I guess the best thing about it to me is I got inducted not because I was such a great bowler, but because I've been around the game for so long that I have contributed more than some of the greatest bowlers that we have in Detroit. I have contributed in many, many different ways that have absolutely nothing to do with the lanes themselves. So that to me makes a big difference in being honored for doing that. All the years I've been bowling, I started in the 71-72 bowling season, and I have bowled on a sanctioned league 47 consecutive years since then. I love the game, I love the people, and I have also approaching my 26th year as being president on my Monday Night League, and I'm well respected for that. And that's part of the reason that I'm here where I am sitting right at the moment. So bowling has been a very big part of my life and will continue to be until they have to drag me off the lanes. Hi, I'm Carol Roberts, 2019 Detroit Hall of Famer.
And now here's Leona to induct Carol.
Thanks. Thank you. Oh, goodness. I just have one question, Paul. If I start to hear music during my speech, am I supposed to stop? Leave the podium like the Emmys do? Okay. Anyway, don't worry, I won't be long. First of all, congratulations to this fine group of 2019 inductees. It is an honor to be recognized for your contributions and your sacrifices for the sport. And just a little reminder, we all need to support this event every year for the new inductees that come along after you. If not, then this event will soon join the ranks of the VCRs and the cassette tapes. So please make it a point to come back next year and support your Hall of Fame. Okay. Enough of the public announcements here. Actually, I'm here to present Carol Roberts with the Meritorious Award. It is given to those who work tirelessly planning, organizing, and executing the operation of bowling events for the welfare of the sport on both local, state, and national levels. And that certainly is a very fitting description for Carol, who has done it all at one time or another in her career of bowling. It's really nice to know that hard work does pay off. Tonight we are honoring Carol, so I guess I need to talk about her. What is there to say about her? Better yet, what is there not to say about her? But that would not be interesting at all, so I'm just going to bore you with all the good stuff. The year was 1992, and the Women's All-Stars were undergoing a major crisis upon which the group had splintered and half decided to move out of luxury lanes. The other half of the league chose to stay at luxury, forming a new league under the sponsorship of Paul Stewart. Carol and I crossed paths some 27 plus years ago before the new league was formed. At that time, Carol was bowling in a ladies' league also on Monday nights at a place called Go Crown, now known as Bowl One. Our league started at 9 p.m., which was once considered prime time at those days, while Carol's league started what was considered prime time of today, 6:20. When she finished bowling, she would meander over to luxury on her way home pretty much regularly every week, and she would just kind of hang around, talk to a few people that she knew, and actually subbed a couple times. Carol never thought herself to be good enough to join the league at that time, not to mention that at Go Crown, one could shoot .630 and win some pretty hefty jackpots, while .630 at luxury would nada. Also not to mention her team had won the league 5 years in a row. That's a lot to give up and tip the scales in favor of joining the All-Stars, forfeiting her very comfortable position at Go Crown. Well, some other girls on the Go Crown League got to talking and wanted to test the waters at luxury, so a new team was forming and Carol was asked to join. It was a hard decision for her, but in the end, she decided to come to luxury. And her position at luxury grew quickly and as comfortably as what she left behind at Go Crown. And to prove just how comfortable, Carol was soon voted in president of the league. In fact, she has become so comfortable, she has been in the president's position for 20 plus years and is now the only charter member still remaining on the league. Funny, but while I was secretary of the league all those years with Carol, she always said to me she would only be president as long as I stayed secretary. Well, I've been gone 6 years, and guess what? Carol is still there, and she's still president. And well, she should be. Carol's not only held the presidency at luxury, she's also held numerous official positions in various leagues all through these years. And she is a good president. It may have cost her a few acquaintances along the way, but Carol has always stood on the side of right. No matter how difficult a decision was to make, Carol always made it. She was tough in the best sense of the word, taking blows, disappointments, and working her way through them and making it all work. It's hard to believe that all these years have gone by. While reminiscing with Janet Dimmer one day, she couldn't remember Carol or when she met her. I then informed her that you knew Carol Roberts long before you two had a formal introduction. Carol was like a wallflower blending in with the bowlers. I said to Janet, don't you remember? We'd go to city tournaments and who would be there? Carol Roberts. We'd go to state tournaments. Who would be there? Carol Roberts. Go to nationals. Yep, Carol. 600-700 club tournaments. There's Carol. Mid-city, Midwestern tournaments. There's Carol Roberts. And my favorite, order popcorn after bowling on Monday nights, and who would be there? Carol Roberts. She was everywhere. And looking at Carol's resumes, gad, she was everywhere and she did everything. She's bowled in 39 city tournaments, 10 years of those a squad leader, 32 state tournaments, 5 national tournaments, having won titles in all 3 of these tournaments. She was a 2003 state senior queen champ, a lane representative since 2006, a state delegate, women's senior all-city team 2007, member of the women's 2013 championship team, received the Cheryl McGowan Sportsmanship Award on Monday nights, and she has bowled 47 consecutive years in league bowling. Woo. And that's just part of her resume. If you read it, it is thick with bowling accomplishments, dedication, and service. She has just about done it all for the sport in one capacity or another, and is truly deserved of this award, as earlier defined by the term meritorious. Carol, it's been a pleasure introducing you, even though I was your second choice. Very true. I'm very proud for you and your family as Carol now joins her daughter Lauren into the Hall of Fame. May you continue to be president for another 20 years, because you have put a lot of time into this game, so now this moment of time is yours. Congratulations. I just got to get her tiara on.
Yeah, the pride of my life here.
There you
Thanks,
go.
baby.
Okay. Congratulations. Okay.
Oh my God.
More Kleenex, more Kleenex.
This mic, I swear. Don't even, just gotta look at it and it starts acting up. It must be me. Okay, I'm so glad that there are other people up here who are crying, because I'm sure that I'm not gonna get through this without doing that either. But, okay, for those of you who don't know me, I am Carol Roberts, as you heard. However, I do have another name that I'm known by, and you heard that a little earlier too, from Debra. And I'm also known as Lauren Roberts' mother. It's been a constant joke for quite a while now, because when I was younger and bowling, I was Carol Roberts, and then all of a sudden my daughter came along and she got proficient, and they said, hey, you know, that's Carol Roberts' daughter. She's a good bowler. Well, then she got much better than me. I taught her everything she knows, and she's now kicking my ass. But all of a sudden it got to be where, hey, you're Lauren Roberts' mother? And I have to tell you a story that happened, because it's very pertinent. I was at the interview, thank you. I was at the interview to be selected for the Hall of Fame, and Mark is talking to me and asking me how thrilled I am about being in the Hall of Fame with my daughter, and we're talking about that, and I get done, he congratulates me and hugs me, and I walk back to the table, and George Brzezinski's sitting there, and I saw Dave and hugged him, and Kelly, the cameraman, looks at me and he says, are you Lauren Roberts' mother? Of course, I laughed and said, you have no idea what a story that is. So that's the big joke of the day, and it'll continue to be, because I'm sure I'll still be Lauren Roberts' mother, despite the fact that I'm in the Hall of Fame now. All right. I've been to several of these ceremonies over the past years, and everyone has a mother, daughter, uncle, father, sister, brother, cousin, and a good mic. Someone down the street that introduced them, took them to the bowling alley and introduced them to bowling. I had no mentors that did that for me. Actually, bowling came to find me to save me. I worked for a company in 1971 that had a bowling league. And at the beginning of that season, 71, 72, they started their league and they had one opening. So the league secretary called around to all the offices and said, is there anybody in your office who might be interested in bowling? We need a bowler. I had very rarely ever bowled, knew nothing about bowling. I knew that you had shoes and a ball. You threw it down the lane, knocked down some pins. There were spares and strikes and splits, and that's about the extent of what I knew about the game. But I said, hey, I was having some personal relationship problems at the time and thought this would be a great diversion and it might be fun. So the next week I showed up at Arc Lanes, if anyone remembers Arc Lanes. Actually, it was Arc West Lanes in Southfield, but anyway, I showed up there, and they had put me on a team with 2 men and 2 women who were really good bowlers. And I used alley ball and alley shoes for the first 2 years I bowled, so I fit right in with them. I kept their average down and gave them lots of handicap, which is pretty much what I do for my teams now. Okay. Anyway, so I bowled the whole year, and they asked me back, and so I continued to bowl, obviously, on that league for several years, and the last 4 years that I bowled on that league, I was the league secretary. But that was in 1976. They elected me, and I stayed as the league secretary on that league until I quit the league and got a full-time job elsewhere. That wasn't my first secretarial league, though. My boyfriend at the time, his mother bowled on a Thursday afternoon league at Frolings, which is now Universal, and she asked me if I might be interested in finishing the second half. I was in college at the time, and it worked out that I could get there in time to bowl on Thursday afternoon, so I did. I filled in for the second half of the year. And just about a couple weeks before that league ended that year, the secretary, her name was Gloria Pepper, she came around and asked if I might be interested in running for secretary the following year. Well, the naive person that I was figured, oh, there's going to be tons of people running, they'll all run, she'll run, nobody will know me, so I'll never win. Sure, I'll run. Well, I'm sure none of you are going to be surprised that when it came down to it, I was the only one running, and I won by acclamation. So that taught me a very valuable lesson on what was going to be my future in the bowling world. Basically, Gloria had found her guinea pig, and my lesson at that point was, anytime one person volunteers, everyone else is inept. So there's nobody else to do it. So anyway, I continued to bowl, and then I got pregnant with my daughter, and I gathered a few really bad habits while I was pregnant. So after I had her, I went to see Jerry Ritter, and she was a person who was giving lessons at that time, and I asked her if she could give me a few pointers, and she wasn't really doing lessons right then because it was just the beginning of, or the end of the spring, and she said, there's a singles league at Gold Crown, this was Gold Crown at the time, and you should join the singles league, bowl, see how you do, and then come and see me in the fall. So I did. I joined the singles league, and I bowled on the league, and I met some friends, and consequently, I ended up joining a junior house league on Tuesday night at Gold Crown. And I want to give a special thanks to Jeannie Richards, who, God rest her soul, took this very naive, first-time classic bowler newbie under her wing and taught her the ropes and let me take over as captain and make all the decisions. And like Leona said, the team that I put together won the league 5 years in a row before I decided to quit and move on to the All-Stars. So I really appreciated all the people that I met there and all the help that I was given to become the person that I am now, being involved in bowling. At the time when I decided to join the All-Stars, however, the All-Stars moved to Clover Lanes, and the team that had asked me to bowl with them did not want to go to Clover Lanes. So we decided to stay with Leona and her league that she started at Luxury in 1992. And as you heard, I have been there now for 28 years. And thanks to Leona asking me, I'm starting my 26th year as president of the league. And hopefully everybody respects me for that. Must be somewhat so, because I wouldn't be standing here otherwise, I'm sure. But 25 years ago, she asked me to be the president, and Mary Mahachi was our charter president when the league started, and I had some really big shoes to fill there. So I feel that I've done a pretty good job keeping the league running smoothly and going all these years. And everyone will agree that when you have 36 women in one room at one time, that's a pretty big feat. Okay, I'm proud to say that during my bowling career, I've been instrumental in helping others form many, many leagues. I've volunteered for necessary positions that have kept the leagues in existence. I've, over the years, been a charter president, a charter secretary, charter treasurer, charter secretary, treasurer of many leagues. I've also taken over on those positions from other people who no longer wanted to do that, just to make sure the leagues would keep going. I'm a constant fixture at the annual meeting. I want to absorb all the information that I can so that I can provide bowlers on my leagues and other places with as much information as comes out, especially now with the new controversial rules that we have been put into. Let's see. Since participating in my first city and state tournament in the early 80s, I've bowled in every held tournament since then, totaling 39 city tournaments and 32 state tournaments. I was also a squad leader for the city tournament for a number of years. And I've also taken many, many squads, and several people here in this room have gone with me to several squads to many various tournaments. I'm presently the squad leader for the Michigan 600 tournament in Owasso. Anybody want to go? Okay, I was honored to be elected as an MD USBC delegate to the state meeting the last 3 years, and as a Michigan delegate for the very last WIBC meeting in Tulsa in 2005, and where I was able to learn as much information as I could about the new merger that was going to be taking place at that time. Besides standing on this podium right now, I have several memories of my bowling games. One of them is in 1993, was the first time I ever had the first 11 strikes. The gentleman who was bowling opposite me also had the first 11 strikes. And it was kind of exciting. Everyone was standing around watching us. Well, he threw the 12th one. And when I let go of the ball, I said, that's it, I shot 300. And I was going to be thrilled to death because my daughter was still in the youth leagues and I wanted to shoot 300 before she did. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I left a 8-pin and shot 299, which is still my high game, although I did shoot 300, which Paul Stewart was there to watch at Luxury. I shot 300 during practice one day. My daughter was with me too, but, you know, if somebody says, did you shoot 300? I said, yeah, but it doesn't count because it wasn't sanctioned. But it's still 300 to me. So, I'm also proud to say that besides that memory, with my little tiara here from winning the Senior Queens, In 2003, the Michigan State Senior Queens was probably the highlight of my bowling career. I remember sitting there when they were putting this tiara on my head saying, "This is so cool. This is just so cool." My husband was there prodding me, you know, pushing me and saying all kinds of things that everybody said, "Oh, why are you listening to him?" I said, "He's just trying to keep my head in the game." It was a really tough shot, and I hung in there all weekend, and I managed to make the finals. And I bowled really, really well that day, and I beat someone who was the best bowler in Western Michigan at that time, and I will never forget how elated I was to do that. That tournament has also made me the ability to, I basically have participated in that tournament every year since 2001 until they quit having it. I'm one of two people, just like being last charter member on Monday, I'm one of two people who are the only ones who have bowled in the Michigan Senior Queens for every held tournament that they have. And it also allowed me to become friendly with many of the women from the Michigan State Women's Bowling Tournament, or Bowling Association. I want to give a large thank you to Pat Russell, who's retired from there, for doing so many things for me that I did not ask her to, and also Mary DeBoers and Sharon Chilroth for always being there, for answering questions that I need, to let somebody know that this is happening, or when's this going on, or let me get you this form. They were always more than willing to help me. So I'm really thankful to having those friends that are still friends of mine now. Bowling has provided me with many years of entertainment, also exercise, and socializing weekly with many great friends over the years. My family and friends know how difficult my life has been over the last couple months, and I want to thank them for gracing their presence this afternoon and always supporting me through good times and bad. I need to give thanks to every person that I've ever bowled with over the years. There's so many I can't even possibly begin to, many of them have passed on because I've been bowling for so long, and a lot of them were a lot older than me when we started, so. But I would like to thank my wonderful teammates on, take that off. Here, hold it. Yeah, all right. Okay, that's good. All right, my teammates on my Wednesday league are Dennis Graham and Al Oliver. I thank them every day for letting me bowl with them and not harassing me for being so lousy right now. Terry Catchpole, my daughter, and my wonderful Hall of Fame teammate, Debra Dickerson, who've always made me feel special to be their teammate. I'd like to thank John and Pat Powell, who David knows, and I've known David for 40 years probably. We've hung out at those places. And John and Pat Powell, may they both rest in peace. Tom Trush, as Dave ventured, helped me an awful lot in my game, and also both my husbands, John Roberts and Tom Jackson, who helped me. They provided me with some insight into the behind-the-scenes part of the game that helped me learn a lot of things to become a bowler and not just someone who bowled. Let's see. Well, I wanted to thank Terry Grant, but she's not here, because she gave me a lot of insight on different things that were going on and allowed us to videotape ourselves at Bonanza many, many weeks. So that helped me learn a lot about my game also. And I especially want to give extreme thanks to the Hall of Fame committee, and especially Paul Stewart for having more faith in me than I had in myself and insisting that I submit this application, because I told him he was crazy, that there was no way I was ever going to get inducted into the Hall of Fame. But I'm truly humbled by this honor and will forever cherish being enshrined in the same hall as many great bowlers of our time, including some of my longtime friends. To me, being inducted in the meritorious service category means that I'm being recognized for providing the necessary assistance for those great bowlers, as well as others they can contribute to enjoy and excel at this sport for many years to come. Also, the biggest thing to me about this is that I have been told that my daughter, Lauren Roberts, and myself are the first mother-daughter combination in the Hall of Fame. To me, that is extremely sweet and memorable. I want to thank every single person who's here today to support all of these people. I know Debra and Dave for years. I'm just meeting these people, and I've followed their careers a lot more than they think I have. But I watch everybody bowling and know what they do, so congratulations to all of them, and thank everyone here who has made my day possible for me. I love you all very much. One last thing that I have to do. One last thing. George Brzezinski, what's my name? You're Lauren Roberts. You got it.
Well, how about one more big round of applause for all of our Hall of Fame inductees tonight. All right, we have 3 special awards to present tonight. This part of the program goes by much quicker. There are no videos. And the first award is the Thomas McKay Award. And if you've looked at your program, you've probably already made the conclusion that the bar has apparently been lowered a great deal for this particular award this year. So we are fortunate to have Tom McKay here once again tonight to present this award.
Thank you, Paul. First, I'd like to congratulate all of the inductees this year into the Hall of Fame. And I'd also like to thank all of the Hall of Famers that are here tonight. I've been attending these things every year since 1958. And beyond a shadow of a doubt, we've never had this number of Hall of Famers that have attended. I want to thank you for all your attendance. In 1992, I was president of the American Bowling Congress, and at that time, George Prybyla proposed to the Hall of Fame committee that we come up with an award honoring somebody that's made major contributions to bowling in our area. He also suggested that the award be named after me, and certainly an honor for me to be associated with the number of people that do such a great job to promote bowling. Our first award went to Agnes Ekstrom and then John Gavey over the years, and we've honored a number of outstanding proprietors: George Prybyla, Mark Voight, Gary Gumtow, certain part Paul Stewart. We had great bowlers as well: Joe Norris, Tony Lindeman, Anita Canaline, Mary Mahachi. Some people have given their time on a national level: Libby Fletcher and Mark Martin, the ABC and WIBC Hall Boards of Directors. This year, the committee has decided to give the award to Paul Gross. Those of you that have been coming here know that he's done an outstanding job for many years as our Master of Ceremonies. And he's also been a real promoter of bowling, period, especially in the junior program. I watched the Junior Gold at Thunder Bowl last year, and I noticed that you were in the audience supporting that program as well. He's also done a great job in promoting and helping us with our McKay doubles. We run a tournament every year. We raise money for the National Hall of Fame as well as Carmano's Cancer. And Paul does a good job to help us promote that tournament. As a matter of fact, last year he shot a fine 600 series, and his team qualified for the match play, and you won a bowling ball, as I recall, right? For all your contributions to bowling, it was my pleasure to sit with you at the table afterwards. We have a luncheon after that particular tournament, and it was my pleasure to sit there, and I've never seen anybody that's as enthused for bowling as Paul. And I've been around this game a long time. And Paul, with your enthusiasm for bowling and your contributions to this Hall of Fame dinner. It's my pleasure to be able to present you with this plaque for the Thomas McKay Award for 2019.
Thank you so much, Tom. It's quite an honor. Thank you so much. All right, I'll keep this brief because the evening is growing long. But when I first got the email from Mark that I was receiving this award, two things immediately came to mind. First of all, because the award is for a lifetime of service to the sport of bowling, I thought I'm not old enough to get this award. It's a lifetime of service, and I just didn't think I was old enough to get that. And the second one was that I know, and this is more serious, I know Tom McKay, and I know who this award is named after, and I've always had great admiration and respect for Tom, and to receive an award in your name, Tom, really means a lot to me. And if you look in the back of the program here, it has the list of the previous Thomas McKay Award winners, and it is a who's who of bowling in Detroit. So that is a very, very humbling thing to look at that list and then to see that my name is part of that. My bowling story is like 99% of yours, apparently, except for Carol's, in that my parents were bowlers. My dad bowled in a dental fraternity league, the Alpha Omega League, at Old North Lanes at 8 Mile and Greenfield. My mom bowled at Hartfield Lanes in Berkeley on 12 Mile. And I still remember actually the day this little 4'10" little shrimp came home and said, "I've just bowled a 213 today." That was her best game ever. And this is back in the 1960s. That was a pretty good game. And they gave her a coffee mug for that. And I was so excited for her. And so I just enjoyed bowling right from, when I was a kid, like many of you. Ended up working at a bowling alley, probably like a lot of you, at the old Strike and Spare Lanes at Maple and Telegraph. Started off as a porter and a mechanic. Now, I was a good mechanic, but I was a little crazy. I just did a few crazy things. Like there was one nice summer afternoon. I was back behind the machines doing some maintenance, and I heard a lane come on, and I saw a couple of cute girls that were bowling on lanes 3 and 4. And so I started sending notes back in the thumb holes of the bowling ball. And believe it or not, I actually got a date out of it. So, yeah, and the rest of it, no, it's not my wife. But anyhow, it's a great sport, and it's not hard. I've always said, and I say this also about my job at the station, it's not hard to do a job that you love. And I know many of you that are proprietors and are in the industry, you know what I'm talking about. It's not hard to do. I mean, at the station, I get paid for my hobby. I've wanted to be a Channel 4 weatherman since I was 7 years old. And I've always loved bowling, and I've always wanted to be involved in the sport and somehow. And I actually do get to cover it for the station. And, for those of you who, follow me on Twitter or follow our station Facebook or Twitter pages, you saw when the Pro Bowlers Tour was here that I was there virtually every day of the 10 days and writing articles, shooting interviews on my phone. You'd be surprised at the quality of the video now on the phones these days. Shooting videos on the phone and putting those, embedding those into the articles. And I heard from a lot of people who were so excited because that was real coverage of our sport. And it was what a great privilege to be part of that and to be able to do that. And so this is, like I say, this is really a very tremendous honor. I was still kind of almost shaking when, to realize that I'm receiving this. This is such a prestigious award. So just thank you to the entire committee, and thank you again, Tom, for being the role model for this sport that we all really cherish. So thank you all very, very much. All right. Our next award is the Judge John D. Watts Award, and for this, and he's been waiting very, very patiently, we have the Honorable Sean Kavanaugh, District Judge from right here in Livonia. Thank you for being with us tonight, Judge.
Thank you very much for having me. Paul, the only question I have is, did you get a second date out of that bowling ball?
I got out of the bowling ball. Oh, the note in the bowling ball?
Yeah.
I got 2 dates out of it.
There you go. That's a win.
That's a win.
Now I'm here, I know normally Dave Szymanski, who used to be a probate judge, he's retired. He asked me to be here because he's out of town today, and I know he's done this often. He asked me to talk about the Judge Watts Award, and I didn't know who Judge Watts was, so he gave me a little bit of background, and I looked it up on the internet. And he was a judge, for those of you that don't know, in the 1930s and 40s, and then he became a TV judge, the first TV judge in the Detroit area. Like Judge Mathis was, moved to Chicago. There was a guy named Ernest Bridge who was a judge in juvenile court. And I remember seeing that when I was a kid, and it scared the heck out of me to see what they would do to these kids. So Judge Watts was a very active member of the bowling community, a bowling enthusiast, and kind of a link between Judge Watts and today. Since he was a judge, I understand a judge has always been here to give this award. This year, the award is going to a longtime member of the bowling community. I understand his family's been part of the bowling community for years, since the 1940s. And his name is Tom Strobl, the owner of Thunderbird Bowl. And I don't know Tom, although I was in law practice for a long time. I would have pleadings to go to the Strobl and Sharp law firm, and you never get to meet the partners. You always deal with the underlings. So he's a big guy in this law firm. But I understand that his family was, excuse me, active in many bowling alleys around the Detroit area, Denby Lanes, Pomona Lanes, Royal Lanes. I don't know where these were. I never bowled in any of these places, but I understand that he carried on the tradition of his family for a long time. And as you know, Thunderbolt Lanes, according to the manager who I spoke with earlier, Vicky, it's one of the, or if not the, but one of the largest bowling alleys in the country, maybe the world. So, because you've had to sit through quite a few speeches tonight, and I know somebody wants to go home, I'm just going to ask that we all join me in presenting this John D. Watts Award, Judge John D. Watts Award, to Tom Strobl. Thank you. And I understand Tom is not here because, as a good family man, he had a previous engagement that he had planned with his grandson to go on a golf trip. And family comes first. Thank you.
In case you were worried this was going to be a long speech, Tom's a lawyer, so if he's not getting paid by the minute, it's pretty short. These are Tom's words. He wanted to say thanks to everybody tonight, and he's really sorry that he's missing this event, but he did have this trip previously planned, so I'm honored to be up here. John D. Watts was a respected Michigan Court of Appeals judge and a great promoter of the game of bowling. From what I was able to discover, he was the MC of the Hall of Fame presentations, attended most USBC events, and was a vocal supporter of the bowling community throughout the Detroit area. I consider this award to be a reflection of the great management team at Thunderbolt Lanes. Everyone at Thunderbolt is geared to promote the sport, to make the customer experience terrific, and to participate in activities and events sponsored by the USBC. My family has continually been involved in bowling as proprietors since 1942. This award is received on behalf of my grandfather, father, and brothers who were all involved in bowling. Thank you for this honor, which I accept on behalf of my family and of all the dedicated employees at Thunderbolt Lanes. I had no idea he was going to be so gracious and include us in his award tonight, but on behalf of myself and Greg Daniels from our management team that's here, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I just want to briefly add one anecdotal story about Tom that's going to really make you appreciate how important he is to not just bowling here in Detroit, but nationally. Last year, a year ago, when the Pro Bowlers Tour was in town, I was interviewing PBA President Tom Clark, and he gave me an exclusive. He broke the news to me in my interview that they were going to bring World Series of Bowling 10 back to Detroit, where it started. And Tom then went on to tell me, Tom Clark went on to tell me the story that back 10 years ago, he said the PBA was not in a good place. It was, in real danger, and it was not doing well. And they needed That underscores the importance of what Tom means, not just to this bowling community, but to the professional bowling community across the nation. So, and by the way, the players, who I've interviewed a lot of them over the years, they rave about how Tom treats them. I mean, some of the he's taken some of them golfing. I mean, he goes way above and beyond, and the players rave about what Tom does for them. So we are truly indebted to what he has done for our sport here, and I just wanted to add that on. So thank you again, Judge. Again, really appreciate you being here and being a part of this. Yeah. All right, our final award of the night is the George Prybyla Industry Award, and that is being awarded to our dear friend Diane Voight. And to present that, we have Vicki Ingram coming back to the podium.
This is an honor I get because I'm president of Southeast Michigan Bowling Center Association, which is a great organization of proprietors and managers that work together to bring you some great bowling ideas here in Detroit. So it's my honor to be here tonight to pass out this award. Diane made a big splash in the bowling world 34 years ago with the beginning of ownership and management at Satellite Bowl. She has filled each day with learning, growing, and helping Detroit make bowling better and better. I think it's the best industry in the world. Diane was voted onto the board of directors for the National Bowling Proprietors Association, for short, the BPAA. For those in the room who may not know how important this organization is, this is the White House of bowling, not only across America, but internationally as well. Diane's place on that board has been a driving force to bring bowling front and center with national sponsorships like Pepsi, Miller's Coors, and these are all products of bowling. She turned a seat on the board into the director at large, a place that helps her bring the best of the best to Detroit. She has done all of this while raising a wonderful family, being a very devoted wife, running a large corporation, and helping to manage hundreds of employees. Not an easy task. Diane has enjoyed working with and having relationships with USBC, the TNBA, IGBO, and of course, her seat on the board of directors of the Bowling Center Association of Michigan, which is a huge force for Detroit bowling. A fun and exciting fact is the relationship between bowling and the Super Bowl of NFL. When in 2006, the normally once coveted golf charity event was not going to be able to be held here in Detroit because of the weather, of course, Diane helped implement a charity bowling event that year, and that has become a coveted event across America in every venue of the Super Bowl since that time. That is all because of her hard and determined work. Diane is very deserving of this industry award, all on her own merits, but when she speaks of working or bowling or the bowling world, she always says we or us. I'm not sure if she's talking about all the dedicated employees at Community Bowling Center or possibly Mark, who was always by her side, almost always. But when she says it fondly. Thanks for all the wonderful years of building the business here in Detroit, Diane. I give you the 2019 George P. Industry Award, Diane Voight.
Shorter than the average beer here. That's all right. Wow, thank you and good evening, everybody. I'd like to start by expressing my congratulations to each one of the Hall of Fame inductees this evening. Your accomplishments are very impressive, and as well, my congratulations to the other two awardees this evening. Interestingly enough, I began my life in the bowling world as a favor to my husband. He was going to buy a bowling center, and he needed me to go in and run it for 6 months until he could retire from his corporate job. What we discovered in those 6 months, excuse me, is how much we enjoyed the business and how much we enjoyed working together. Excuse me. Mark thoroughly enjoyed socializing with people, and I do too. This made bowling a perfect fit for the two of us. So a temporary situation became the norm in our life and lasted for the last 34 years. The bowling business is and has been both fun and a challenge. Being able to entertain so many people day after day is a delight, most of the time. Being able to work with some very talented athletes, both professional and amateur, is exciting. However, working our way through some difficult economic times in this community has been stressful, to say the least. But it was all worth it. I have met some of the nicest people in the world, as well as some of the most interesting. I've made great friends and been privileged to have some very exciting experiences. My work with our centers, the Bowling Centers Association of Michigan, the BPAA, have all taught me a lot, and I had hoped that I would in some way have been able to contribute something back to the bowling world. It certainly enriched my life, and I believe that we have a responsibility to pay it back and pay it forward. If I succeed in that, I will be pleased. As many of you know, this year my life was turned inside out and upside down when Mark passed away. But the bowling world has been so supportive to me and my family. Many in the bowling community reached out to me and offered me any help I needed as I took over the business. Where else does that happen, where business people reach out to assist someone else in the same business that they're in? And how does one show how much that generous offer is appreciated? Thank you hardly seems enough. And speaking of thank yous, I must give a shout out of great appreciation to all the people that work with us at community bowling centers. Few of us can take full credit for anything that we accomplish, because we have people who work beside us to make these things happen. Mark and I have what we think are the best of the best. I would like to acknowledge them all. I really appreciate every one of them. And speaking of the best, I need to express my appreciation to my daughters, all of them, who gave up a lot because of our involvement in the business world. And especially my first daughter, who is here with me tonight. She has been my financial expert that helped me after Mark was gone, and she's been a rock in helping me get through this very difficult year. Thank you so much. Bowling has broadened my world, and I hope I have served the bowling community well and made it maybe just a little bit better. I know the bowling family will continue to thrive, and it will grow because of the hard work of all of the people involved in bowling. I'd like to thank the committee for honoring me, those in business for all they do for bowling, and especially the bowlers who continue to support our great sport. Thank you.
Well, every year we hear these speeches, and particularly I'm referring to the Hall of Fame inductees, and there's a common theme every year, and what I find extraordinary is how little, not none, but how little by comparison there is talk about knocking down pins in bowling and how much talk there is about the friendships and the camaraderie. That's what our sport is. That's why it's so different and so special from all the other sports, because we develop such very close friendships. Some of the closest friends I have in my life are people that I met on my bowling league. And so that is the common theme. And by the way, Ed, I have to say, as a closing thought, you talked about, thumbs up, with your mom. All I ever heard from my mom was shake hands with the head pin. She'd sometimes yell at me, shake hands with the head pin. But that's, it all starts with parents, and you get the kids into bowling, and then the kids become bowlers, and then their kids become bowlers, and that's what our sport is. So it has been an absolutely wonderful night. It's been a great privilege to be here. Thank you again to all of our Hall of Famers who have come back to support this night. Congratulations to our honorees, and have a wonderful night, everybody.